If you're watching this video, it's because you're awesome, and you're about to learn something that makes you even more awesome. Welcome back to Saneauto, my hashtag insane friends. We're happy to see you here. If this is your first time here, I'm Victor Sane, master technician and transmission rebuilder. What we have here today, and the focus of this video, is a couple of questions from eBay parts customer that we have. And he was asking why his forward clutches would be burnt in his 4R70W. And he sent a few pictures wanting to know whether these clutches in this drum and that clutches in that drum, whether they were bad or not. So we're going to go over a few clutches and what you can look at to see if they're good or bad. And we're going to go over a few things that might burn the clutches in the forward drum. Well, let's get into it. First of all, we have a couple of stators here and a couple of forward drums. This stator and this drum is from a 4R70W, also in the AODs. This stator and drum is from the AOD. These are non-electronic. These are electronic. These have a shaft that runs from the direct clutch into the torque converter housing to give you a kind of lockup that's not really lockup, but it is a direct connection, a solid connection. This has a conventional lockup system like most other transmissions do from 1980 and later. You'll notice right here there is a bushing in the stator, and right here there's no longer a bushing in the stator in the 4R70Ws and AODEs. The reason for that is they needed this space to have these sealing rings here on the shaft for fluid to apply the lockup torque converter. Here they just have a hollow shaft for another shaft to go from the torque converter housing all the way to the direct clutch drum. And they don't need any sealing rings because they're not using fluid to apply and disengage a clutch inside the torque converter. Now, to get into why you would have burn up clutches in the forward drum. First of all, on both of these, you seal in the same place for the fluid going to apply these clutches. And of course there's the usual suspects where if you have bad seals on the apply pistons, would burn the clutches. Then you have these sealing rings right here that apply the clutches in the forward drum. These sealing rings apply a different drum we're not getting into today. These right here, let me give you a closer look. These two rings right here apply the forward clutches. This feed hole applies the forward clutches. Now on the AOD, if this bushing is wore, then the drum, instead of staying nice and steady when it spins, it can move around a little bit. This is the same problem here with the 4R70Ws, 4R75Ws, AODEs, but the bushing is way down here, and it has to work even harder to keep that shaft and that drum steady. If that shaft and drum is not steady, then the drum right here, this part of the drum where the sealing rings seal down in here, can move and touch the actual stator. And if it touches the actual stator on either side of these sealing rings, I'm going to take one of these off so you can really see what I'm talking about. Okay, see the sealing ring off of there? See the sealing ring groove? Now, if that drum touches this stator at all, it'll grind on that and it'll mushroom this out and push metal out towards this sealing ring. The sealing ring actually seals up against the edge. When the fluid comes out here, it pushes the sealing ring out, it pushes that sealing ring out, and this edge here pushing against that edge seals off, and this outer part right here seals against the drum. And if it leaks at either of those two places, then your fluid pressure goes out and doesn't go in behind the piston and doesn't apply the piston as well, and you burn up the clutches. So it is critical to have good bushing in the stator. Now, once the bushing has gone bad enough to where your clutches are burnt, you've got damage on the stator, if you catch it before it touches the stator, you can put a new bushing in the stator. If you catch it after it's already hit, and it won't be all the way around, it can be like just in one spot. But if you find any damage here at all, then you're going to have to replace the stator. And if you replace the stator with a good used stator, which is usually what people do because of the cost concerns, the huge difference in cost, then you're going to put a new bushing in there every time. So it's a good idea to put new bushings in there every time. Now, as far as the question on the clutches, there are several things you can look at on the clutches, but I want to preface this with the fact that if you're calling it rebuilt, you need to replace all the clutches. If it's your own vehicle, you're working on your own vehicle, and you're not calling it rebuilt, you're not charging anybody money for doing this job, then do whatever you want. Or if you're doing a patch job for a car lot or something, and you're calling it a patch job, then like our customer, he said straight up, it's his vehicle and he's just doing a patch job. So he was honest about it. I don't have any problem with that. The only thing I have a problem with is when people, tell people they're going to do something cheaper than somebody else and call it rebuilt when it's not really rebuilt. But we won't get into that any more than we already have. Okay. These are some good used clutches that are dark because they started out dark. Most of your other good used clutches will be an even lighter tan, but these clutches, used clutches, come in very many different colors. Browns and greens and tans. So sometimes it's a little difficult. This is a very rare, and I only have 2 of these that are any good, very rare third gear clutch that's good. Now, burnt from heat is really dark like that. Can you see the difference? And that, see the difference? Dark burnt and lighter tan. This one is bad for another reason. Even though it's lighter tan and it's not burnt, it's bad for another reason. What you see here is moisture damage. Like if you've ever heard the story about buying a junkyard unit and then 2 weeks or 2 months later the unit went bad and they pull the pan off of it and they find a bunch of clutch material in the bottom of the pan. Well, this is kind of a common occurrence because if all transmissions have vent holes and vent tubes and that sort of thing, because they have to, the transmission fluid expands when it gets hot. That takes up space. The air has to go out and then air has to come back in after it cools off. So you have this open cavity in the case, which 2 times a day you have moisture problems when the temperature changes, and any open cavity is going to have condensation. Well, transmissions are no different. Condensation builds up in transmissions, it gets moisture in there. This is moisture damage. See the flaking here, it's bubbling up a little bit in places and flaking here, and a lot of flaking on this side. That's from moisture damage. That came out of a junkyard transmission that ran for a little while and then had to be rebuilt. This is another example of a clutch that looks really good on this side. You see the lines here, but then when you turn it over, there are no lines. Well, that's because a lot of the material has been worn off. And so that clutch is no good either, even though it's not burnt like this one. And it's not as burnt as this one. So, things to look out for if you're trying to reuse clutches. That's pretty much it. Oh, and I know the customer already knows this because we discussed it, but just in case you don't know, look for hot spots on your steels. I don't know if I have any steels here with hot spots on them. Let me look and see if Don't forget to check the teeth on your clutches and your steels for wear. And don't forget to check the description for convenient links to necessary tools, parts, and kits. Oh gosh, yes, check that out. See that little spot right there? Usually they'll have one or two hot spots like that. This has got heat damage all over it. All this pretty little colors. Your steel should not have pretty colors. They should just be plain as can be. There are some very good heavy duty clutch kits available for the third gear drum, whether you're using the stamped steel drum or the cast iron drum. These kits are far superior to the clutch packs that come in the rebuild master kit and banner kits. And I will put a link in the description. I will also be putting the link in the description to the shift kit that I like to use for these units. And just to enter your vehicle information, after you click on the link and go to look at the products in my links, put your vehicle information to make sure you get the correct parts for your vehicle. Forward clutch pack is on in all gears. It's on whether you're in reverse or forward. The only time this clutch pack is off is in neutral. There are the other usual suspects that can cause the forward clutch pack to be burnt, like restriction in the filter due to excessive clutch material and stuff, and that usually requires that something else is damaged first, and that damage is causing that buildup of material and restricting that filter. There's, you know, if you're older AOD, it could be something to do with your throttle valve linkage, or you could have a pressure regulator valve sticking. You could have, in the AODEs and 407DWs, you don't have any linkage for that. You have, it's all electronic, so you have TPS switch, the EPC solenoid, you have the wires in between. You have possibilities even as far as alternator. Overcharging or not charging enough can affect the amount of pressure because it is electronically controlled, and anything that affects your voltage affects the pressure. So if you don't have enough pressure, these things are going to burn up. But the things that are kind of unique to this unit are the bushing. If you've checked all that stuff and you've replaced your EPC solenoid and those kind of things, this bushing in here in the stator, you do need to check that. And the case connector on the passenger side where it plugs into the case. If there's transmission fluid in that connector, it's bad. Now, one more thing that I wanted to say in this video, and that is an answer to some of our other hashtag insane friends that were talking about the channel on their lives. You know, we like to shout each other out on our lives and help each other out and help each other grow our channels. Somebody had mentioned that we don't show our personal vehicles that much. Well, you know, there's a reason for that. Our priority has been lately to focus on other people's vehicles, mainly people's vehicles that they are taking to the car shows that are supporting much needed charities for the children and the veterans. And so, you know, with that in mind, we've been focusing on their cars instead of ours, trying to help drive more traffic to those car shows and those charities to help out those children and those veterans. Now, we did used to take our cars to the car shows a lot, and we will start doing that in the future. But for right now, our cars are still here, right here. This is the 72 Mach 1 you see in some of the videos. Beyond that, you need to comment below this video and let me know if you can recognize what that one is over there with the door sticking up. That's a pretty dead giveaway. Many of our videos at all, you should be able to recognize which vehicle of ours that is with the door sticking up like that. And then let me just come around the camera here and sweep this over so you can see a little bit more. Alright, I know you can't see very well, but right in there are some covers, and those covers are covering up some of our motorcycles. And then over this way, beyond this little toolbox and the ladder and the bunch of transmission parts, and way back in there, way back in the further part, one of the further part of the buildings, is hidden back there under another cover is the Corvette. And then of course the other vehicles are in the other building. And that's about it. Any more questions? If you want to see more of our vehicles in our videos, then let me know in the comments below. If you have any more questions about these, of course, we're concentrating a lot, I know, on the Mustang transmissions that are also in the F-150s, these being the AODs, the AODEs, and the 4R70Ws, and we're going to continue doing that until we go from stem to stern and hit every hard part in that transmission. But if you've got a special question like this guy did, or you need to know anything, then let me know. Maybe I'll make a video on it, and maybe I'll shout you out in that video. Comment below. Until the next video, get off the couch and get dirty. Are you still watching? Well, I got a bonus for you. For watching this far in the video, let me a bonus for you. We got a new Mustang. It's a new old Mustang, but it's a new Mustang. Ferocious Frankie. This one's going to live here with the Mach 1. Thank you for watching the whole video. Remember folks, if you don't like being burnt, bruised, and bleeding, the only safe way to do your repairs is just pay somebody else to do it. Welcome to Saneauto. We're so glad you're here. We don't just do repairs and tool reviews.
Bienvenida a Saneauto. Nosotros no solamente hacemos reparaciones de autos.
We also film hot rods and mod rods, project cars, classic cars, antiques.
Nosotros también filmea autos antiguos, mod rods, hot rods, cualquiera.
We also like to take you with us to the car shows and the cruise-ins, so make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss anything.
Me gustaría llevarte con nosotros a los cruise-ins y car shows. Entonces, empuja ese botón y toca de campaña para que no pierda nada.
Thank you for watching our videos. Many of the events, shows, and people that we feature support much needed charities.
Bastante de eventos que nosotros filmea soporta caridad.
Please take a child or a friend to one of these events and make sure that they're aware of all the good works that the great people of the car community do.
Por favor, lleva un niño o un amigo a los eventos para que sepa de buenos trabajos que hacen los coordinadores de evento. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.